Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. It's markets in the morning. Let's go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the blockchain backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Welcome to Markets in the Morning. Today is Monday, September 18th, 2023. This is Markets in the Morning, where we take a look at the price action of the cryptocurrency market, including the Bitcoin price chart, which I have right up here in front of us. Of course, we'll take a peek over there at the XRP price chart, altcoin market, which I'm sure quite people have questions. We typically cover a lot of stuff in there. And of course, taking a peek over there at the stock market as we get ready to start a new week today on Monday morning. We'll take a peek over there at the US dollar currency index and the DXY, precious metals, and any type of financial news that is going on in broader markets or over there in the cryptocurrency market. This week is the big week. This is the week that we are going to be having the Federal Reserve FOMC meeting on Wednesday. We will be live streaming that. I believe that's at like around 2 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday. So as we get closer to that, I'll lock that in. I haven't really actually looked up to see what time it is, but that's usually what time it is. Currently, the expectations are set at 99% probability and priced in at 99% probability that the Fed will not raise interest rates. It is at a 1% chance that they will do a interest rate hike. The Fed has gone with the consensus at each of the last meetings, so expectations are they likely will. With that one on Wednesday, we'll see how markets react to that. We'll see what their forward guidance is. We have a good time when we live stream those. It's it's pretty wild in the chat. Either way, happy Monday, everybody. Welcome back to the week. We're starting the week off with green over here in the crypto market. You can see that Bitcoin is sitting above $27,000 right now, coming off of last Monday's capitulation that we ended up seeing there. So nice to see that prices are continuing to hold in here. One thing we could see, right, we kind of like paused out exactly where we paused. I'll change that color so we can see it a little better. Kind of paused out in the same spot we paused out last time, and then now Monday kind of continuing up a little bit more. It gets pretty hard to guess how price action will behave in these areas, as we are kind of like, it's not a term I have come up with. It's considered the dumb money zone. Anything in the middle areas in here in between all these fibs, when we're, 382 to 702, 786, price action can be so choppy throughout here. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully it's just kind of a straight line up, and it just keeps on marching its way without too much interruption in here, and continues to take the rest of the cryptocurrency market with it. Of course, this is coming off of all of the 12K calls, 23, 20, 16 calls that came in there, all getting left behind as price continues to surge up. We've gone through this stuff. We've gone through crashing patterns. We've gone through it on the 1 minute chart, the 1 hour chart, the 1 day chart, all of them lined up. And of course, we held a higher low in here. Now price is bouncing out of there just fine. Taking a look on the bigger time frame of this stuff, these are things that we talk about in here, zooming way out on super cycles of Bitcoin. In the recovery and the completion of a super cycle recovery, as you can see, bouncing around, ranging in here for 7 months is appropriate. We've lined that up many times, taking it over here. This is a normal zone to do something like that in. Me, I'm skeptical that we're starting some type of new cycle or that we're going to go crazy. I am very concerned about the stock market and how high it actually is. So that's going to be a challenge for it in regards to some type of monster bull run for Bitcoin. But in order for these things to still remain valid, or the requirements, it's just higher lows. It's just what happens in here, that we break from ranges, we backtest those ranges, and we continue higher lows happening in here. That has been the case. Any type of move down below 24/7, such as going to 23,000, 20,000, 16, and the insanity of people calling for 12, absolutely none of that would mean that Bitcoin is in any type of bull run, being about 220 days away from the halving. It would destroy 4-year cycle theory. It would destroy the halving theory. It would destroy everything. To even go below 24.7, that would be inconsistent with Bitcoin's price action. And then it would lose a previous resistance as a support, losing it there. So continuing to hold that low was the thing that was pretty much mandatory. And so far, so good it has. Now just continuing the march. Challenges saying, hey, is this going to go in a straight line? Is this going to wobble around in here? Is it going to go up really quickly? That's going to be... We're just going to have to take it kind of day by day on something like that. The thing to kind of look at is really kind of the Dow Jones Industrial Average, right? There's such a correlation to new highs with the Dow for when things really get exciting there for Bitcoin. So we'll look at all of this here in just a second. I did actually write a newsletter last week. Spicy take capitulation already happened, and why the Bitcoin block reward in Fourier cycle theory demands that this price does hold. Essentially, that this level is mandatory for Fourier cycle theory and for people who believe that the halving is something that is important for Bitcoin. I go through the past and show it's mandatory this level holds. You can't go to 23, 20, 16, 12. Not a chance. It has to hold. And so far, it has. So, and if you know anything about me, I'm a goofball about it, not believing in that the halving is the thing in control. I'm not in a belief that it's a Fourier cycle. I mean, math just tells you it's not a Fourier cycle, and it's very correlated to broader markets and broader liquidity flows that happen throughout the market, not the halving, not Fourier cycles. But even if we tried to make some type of correlation to those halvings, which I go through in here, you'll see we actually still holding that level can still keep that dingus argument alive. And so that was mandatory. But dipping below here, it wouldn't. It would have destroyed it, actually. You would have lost that. And I could have said, see, here's why the halving never matters. But holding it, it's alive. So unfortunately, I think a lot of people missed that was required for the halving theory and for the Fourier block reward halving theory. This was a mandatory level to hold. Good news is it has so far. As long as it is holding, then this little dream right here can remain alive for the people who are like super mega bulls for Bitcoin. Of course, that's going to be a concern for me when it does come to the stock market. But when it comes to the stock market, at least in the short and the medium term, I'm still super optimistic about it. The only thing that would cause me to lose that optimism would be if the Dow went and lost, say, 33,600. We're now starting to put in a set of lower lows that would not be good for the Dow. But one thing I've talked a lot about Bitcoin being in this time period is the similarities of what sentiment was like back in September, ironically, September of 2020. What are we in? We're September of 2023. I remember this very, very clearly. This is when we're coming out of C19. The price keeps climbing, but nobody believes that it's going to maintain itself. And then we get this wash that happens right here. This wash was brutal. You had everybody in the market screaming that we were going to $4,000 again right after that. You saw a lot of this fractal getting posted again a second time. Let me show it to you in case you guys haven't seen it. I know a lot of you have, but we're going to show it anyway. Hey, guess what? We're now going to do this a second time. This was all over Twitter, everywhere. And people truly, truly believe that this is what the next thing that was going to end up coming for Bitcoin, only for it to recover and to move its way up. I've talked a lot about how much the current time we're in right now really reminds me of something like this. And again, I'm not in the belief that we're going on some major roaring bull run like we did back in late 2020 and early 2021. But the time we're in right now and the price action that we're in right now reminds me very much of that. Let me show you this too. Like if you look at like Bitcoin measured in gold, the similarities are very interesting as well to go back and look at this time period as well of when this actually ended up happening. And you can see this right in here, right? What do? We end up continuing this range. You get a little bit higher. And then what do? You flush back down to the bottom of the range. It scared the daylights out of the market at that time. And how that's very similar to how current price action is right now currently. So I just kind of wanted to reiterate that. One of the reasons why this is also interesting to see something like that happening in here currently right now is moving back over to the stock market and looking at the Dow Jones Industrial Average on how even our current price action right now is very similar to that time period. And even take a look at this little correction, these little corrections that are happening in here right now. Wowzers. So keep an eye. We'll be keeping a close eye on this here in the next few days to see if this thing ramps its way up. But that's how things got before they got incredibly exciting back in 2020. And that's one of the things that is never talked about is that before the bull run, there was that huge washout of the market that this was the belief of that we were going back to the low. And not a lot of people talk about that, like 50% of the participants in the market got themselves washed out waiting for 5K, and then the market went up and they had to buy back in higher. That's never talked about, but it is. That's what happened. All day, sentiment identical, same stuff. What do you get? A hold of higher lows. What do we have? A hold of higher lows. So optimism can remain in there. Of course, the things that where it's just kind of a hard line in the sand, right? You start setting lower lows. That's where things start getting really scary. So far, whatever. We could put all of our little, moving averages on here and scream all of these things. In the end, the big thing is taking out the lower low. If we lose the lower low, that's where the problems are certainly there because then we are not consistent with previous uptrends. So in uptrends, we tend on the daily time frame, we have these tendencies to have these higher lows just continuing. And should we say go set a new low, that's not good, right? So otherwise, it's completely fine, completely normal, and but the most as it looks right now. Everybody who's cheering for, just in the chat on Friday, how many people were saying we're going to 23K, 12K, 20K, 16K. They've all been washed out now. So they're all sitting there. You have to understand how these things work. When people get washed out at the bottom, they'll get really loud for a little while. They'll be screaming that it's going to come down. Whether or not they believe in it or not, it's just a fact that they're not in. If the further the price rises, the less of that you hear because more of them have to capitulate back into the market. So we'll keep our eyes on it. We'll see how the things go. And in the end, that's the thing that matters. The higher low, we got it. And then when we look over here at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, we have a very similar setup to how things go before we start really working our way up. So, all right, good. Let's see. How are we starting for the stock market? Let's take a look at it. NASDAQ is up 0.12%. Dow Jones is up 0.08%. S&P is down 0.02%. So pretty much a mixed day over here in the stock market, which I did include in the title, stocks mixed. However, all of crypto green. Let's go. No red, all green. All right, XRP still continuing to hum along, but definitely looking as if we're nearing the very end of what would be accumulation, waiting for the break to come now. So, during this whole period, I've been like, I'm patient. Now we're getting to a point where it's like, okay, it looks like a break could be coming pretty soon. So whether that's today, tomorrow, the next day, or the day after that, either way, we've been in here for. Today marks 1 month. Now we're getting towards where things can start to try to actually go for the fire up. I think we're pretty close to it. Looking over here at the US dollar currency index, DXY at 105.28. Yields are mixed over here. There's a scare overnight with yields as the 2-year shot up about 5%, like a 5% change. It went up like 0.06%. Percent on the actual yield. There was a fear, like 0.3% or something. I don't know. It was crazy overnight, but those things all did reset themselves. Maybe it was an error, trying to see if there's any type of information that comes out from it today, but it doesn't look like it was that important. But with the US dollar currency index still sitting up here near the range heights, again, this thing could still keep marching all the way up here to the top of this range. The big number to watch for is 106. 106 has historically been a breaking point to the upside and back to the downside for the DXY when it comes to like the last 25 years, when it comes to like the .com bubble, when it comes to our most recent price actions that we've seen. Breaking down through 106 has caused markets to revert back up. Breaking up through 106 has caused them to break down. That's really kind of that line in the sand where we keep seeing behavior happen at. Otherwise, obviously, even getting up to 105, it has not impacted the march up happening here in the Dow Jones Industrial Average or in the other markets. You can see we're all the way up here. But 106 has really been that breaking point. For me, that's just going to be some kind of noise right now. Again, I think the real hard line in the sands that we have in here is just if the Dow does break. Like if you get the lower low, or in Bitcoin, if you get the lower low. So many people are bullish on Bitcoin thinking they're going to buy 23K. You would have lost support. You would have set a lower low. That is inconsistent with Bitcoin's behavior to do that in a move back up. It would not be something to be rampagingly bullish about. Just like the people who are thinking we're going to 12K, they have this fantasy in their head that we're going to go to 12K. I'm going to buy it. And then it's going to go like that. We're going to spend like 2 seconds there. I'm going to sell. And then over the course of one day, we're going to go here, and then I'm going to buy. And then over the course of the one day, I'm going to be up 200%. No, you're not. Sorry. That's not going to happen. You're crazy. You're nuts. That's a fantasy. A fantasy. Okay. Anyway. Gold. Holding. Nothing really happening here with gold. $1,926. Again, I don't think there's anything to really draw from gold unless if it started breaking out big. Start breaking out big, we'd likely be seeing the stock market falling at the exact same time. But as of right now, I think we're okay. All right, moving over to overnight repos. Overnight repos have just been flying to the downside, now down to $1.4 trillion. So now if you remember, you should, because we cover it ridiculously. As the repos opened up, that also is when Bitcoin's top comes in here. Repos, money flying into the Fed, being parked at the Fed rather than treasuries. As it peaks, comes off the peaks and falls. What do we have? Bitcoin reverses off the lows. We eventually break through that 2 trillion floor. Bitcoin shoots up to the upside. This is where you see all the stock market indexes go break through all the retracement levels. And it pauses out. And as it pauses out, Bitcoin falls back down. Now you got the repos draining all over again. So now they're draining from right at about 1.8 trillion, now all the way down to 1.4. So that anybody paying attention to that drainage is still continuing to happen. Looking over here at the Dow as well on the behavior of that. I'm not on the daily. There we go. I'll move that. There you go. Right. So as this floor broke, that's where the Dow is able to go get through all of its retracement levels, and the market is still, I don't think it's pricing it in yet, but I think it will. That big fall that has still continued to happen over there. So, all right, DXY sitting there, no big change. I don't think there's anything else too crazy to talk about in broader markets. It's really over here in Wall Street, kind of a mixed day. Longer duration yields slight down, short duration yields slight up. Stock market mixed. You get the Dow up 12 points, but you get the Nasdaq down 13 points. You get the S&P down 7. So kind of a mix, and we see that over here too. Kind of a mix. Your winner today is Apple. Your loser today is Tesla. Metals, just slight ups on silver, slight up on gold. And no big change. Again, the big thing this week that the market is probably waiting for before we see any real moves start to take place in the market is to get through this moment right in here, which we can see that we do have a little time bought here to be able to do something like that. So I think we're okay, but I think it's going to be all about the anticipation of, you have to remember 2 meetings ago, we got a pause. Last meeting, we got a 0.25% interest rate hike. But if we get another pause now, it becomes, all right, so, over the course of the last 3 meetings, you guys were paused in 2 of them. What do we take from that? What's going to come? And I think the market's waiting for us to get to that. So otherwise, the only things to be worried about when it comes to the Dow is new lows, 33,600. Bitcoin, new lows, 24,700. Could totally just be all over the place in here, but you're going to have to expect, like today, you're not seeing anybody post about 12K, right? All it would take to see 12K calls returning is that. Because if you remember on Friday when we were on here doing markets in the morning, we were doing this. We're doing this. And you had people screaming, we're dumping. Emotions are very high, very on edge, very schizo right now with market participants. So just kind of keep that in mind. But nice to see the continuation move up in there, 27.2. As high as 27.4, I think, 27.429. Okay. Over there on news. So what do we got, right? So we got Bitcoin up. We got the entire cryptocurrency market up. You got the stock market mixed. You got the DXY flat. You got the Fed meeting on Wednesday. That's the big one. The 99% probability that they're paused. The question is, what are they going to do after that? That's what people are waiting to hear about. I think the overnight repo is telling you the story. They're done. I don't see any reason why the money would flow out of here if they were worried that the raises were going to continue. This money is likely leaving to go park it into something that will hold percentage yield for a long time, which are going to be the treasuries, right? So they can go buy longer duration treasuries at those 4 to 5% interest rates right now. Whereas how long is the Fed going to keep going? Is the Fed going to keep going nuts? This thing's calling the bluff. This thing's saying no, they are done. So we'll see what they say. 99% probability that they are. As for crypto news, I didn't see anything too crazy in here. 9 U.S. senators publicly back Elizabeth Warren. It's a crypto bill. Cool. FOMC versus Bitcoin price local bottom. 5 things to know in Bitcoin this week. Paxos 500,000 Bitcoin fee. We don't have anything to talk about, do we? We're talking about this Bitcoin fee still. Web3 is about solving business problems, not token prices. Okay, 5 AI trends to look for. What happened in crypto this week? NFL and YouTube stars reach settlement in FTX class action lawsuit. Bitcoin price settles at 26.5 as key Fed inflation week dawns, right? Just expecting volatility, man. U.S. lawmakers advance legislation blocking the digital dollar. Hong Kong central bank warns against crypto firms using banking terms. Bitcoin punches above 27K, but analysts have bearish predictions. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. Especially when you're calling for 12, 23, 20K at the bottom and your audience is eating it up alive. You're going to have to hold on to it. All right. Mark Cuban loses nearly $1 million to a crypto scam. I'm skeptical of this. Let me just say this. I understand Mark Cuban's this billionaire on his own, owns the Dallas Mavericks, all in his own thing. But, you noticed that all of the Shark Tank CNBC, and all the CNBC employees came into crypto at the very top. You had Jim Cramer come in at the top, Kevin O'Leary, a just absolute toxic person towards crypto all the way until finally when Bitcoin was $55,000, then suddenly he's pro crypto. He was a toxic person towards crypto prior to that. He was not. The fact that he spoke at the Bitcoin conference back in 2022 was unbelievable. Unbelievable. But Mark Cuban also, right? CNBC employee, gets a paycheck from these guys, right? I'm curious if there's a plan here with this, right? You have Cramer at the top. I'm never selling my Bitcoin pump. I mean it. Right? At the very top. Then you have Kevin O'Leary heavily embedded with FTX. And then you have Cuban down here getting hacked, right? So is his job now going to be to go on anti-crypto? I don't know, right? That's speculation. He hasn't really commented on it very much publicly. But we'll see if that becomes a narrative now. And there's just this trend between people who get paychecks from CNBC. So we'll see about that. But the timing of this happening to Mark Cuban has caught my attention. And I'm being cautious of this to pay attention from a skeptical light that this is bizarre. This happens when everybody is scared, right? All right, stock market. Stock futures inch lower. Is that still the case? Let's go look before we read these things. Dow is down 25 points. NASDAQ is up 22 points. S&P is down 2. So still a complete mixed bag in here. And mixed bag over here as well. Half are up, half are down. Stock futures inch lower as Wall Street awaits Fed meeting. Major central banks are on the brink of peak rates, but the inflation battle might not be over. Cramer, the 4 years that are upsetting the market and what needs to happen next. Okay. Hunter Biden sues the IRS over tax information disclosures. Okay. Nothing too big going on here. How the auto executives misread the UAW ahead of the historic strike. UAW chief Fain rejects a 21% pay increase offer as a no-go. United Auto Workers call unprecedented strike at all 3 Detroit automakers. Automakers UAW spend strike's first day in war of words. Hedge funds just turned bullish on dollar before key Fed meeting. Okay. Sounds more like capitulation. Instacart's long-awaited IPO to test. CEO's pivot. Okay. $1 trillion industry pioneered. Looks like that's it. All right, that's it. There's no real news happening out there today. What there is, though, is a continuation of the green after last week's capitulation happening over there in the market. So we'll take that. Things, of course. So I don't see any big changes happening over there in like the stock market indexes. They're still just holding in their little zones in here. The U.S. dollar currency index, nothing big has come out of here yet. And cryptos, they're really just kind of marching off of the capitulation. So I think that's really the general consensus of just how price or general coverage of what price action has been. As for news, there doesn't seem to be anything too dramatic in news. I think that everything everybody's waiting for is Fed, and the market has positioned itself for the Fed to be paused. The thing is, this is now the second pause over the course of the last 3 meetings, and what does the forward guidance look like for that moving forward? And we're all waiting for that on Wednesday. Otherwise, we'll take what we can get. We've got a green day here in the cryptocurrency market. Everything is green today. Hip, hip, hooray. Opposite of last Monday. Last Monday was we started the week capitulating. Started the week in insanity. Not today. But there you go. Lower lows continue to hold. Price continues to march its way up. We'll take it. So there you go. Happy new week. Happy Monday. We're 26 minutes into this, guys. I'm going to jump into the chat because you know what I'm really trying to do today? I'm going to try to get a video out today. So we'll hop through the chat, and then we'll wrap this thing up. Otherwise, good day in markets so far. We're all waiting for Wednesday. Wednesday's our busy day. And again, we do markets in the morning and we do live stream Jerome Powell speaking. So we actually turn the stream on. We watch to see how price reacts to the actual notes that get released, the minutes that get released by the Fed where they announce what they're going to do. And then, we sit there and yada, yada, yada for about a half an hour until they come on. And then we watch that. So that'll be on Wednesday. Prepare your day. That'll be fun. We always do that. One of the more busier live streams when we do that. All right. Gator gifted 5 BCB memberships right out the gates on a Monday morning, dude. First one, Gator, my brother. Thank you very much. Gary Benchler. Hi, BCB. I tried explaining good news at tops and bad news at bottoms, plus Puppet Master's simulations to a friend. It didn't work. Could you give it a shot? I think you just need to kind of cross-check it yourself to recognize how that always happens. That the bad news is always going to be at the bottom, and the great news is always going to be at the top. That's just how it is, right? Go look through everything. When everybody's in consensus of something, that's when a reversal ends up happening, right? Everybody's a bull together, reversal, right? Like with Tesla, right? Tesla buys Bitcoin. Right. After that news is released, price shoots up to 40. We never double from there. Right. Marks the top. Then begins liquidity exiting. Distribution then starts happening on retail at that exact moment. Right. Then you go to the bottom. What happens at the bottom? FTX collapses. So think of it like you exhaust a market. Right. So when price has already been falling for quite a while, and then you slam it with unbelievable bad news. And then you not only cause a liquidity crisis to happen, where you cause leverage to get completely flushed out of the system, but you also scare people so bad with the narrative that they sell too, and max selling happens. And when you've already had the max number of selling happen, and you've had the liquidity happen, the leverage flush happen, you've hit the bottom. It can't go lower than that, right? Max fear, max pain, max selling, max leverage flushed, that's your bottom. The bad news still remains, but you've already exhausted it as far. There's no more sellers to flush out. They already just panic sold. There's no more leverage to wipe out of the system. It all just got wiped out. You're at your floor, right? And that's what we saw happen with FTX. And interesting, that's what we kind of saw here. This was bigger than FTX. And then what happens here? People think they're like, oh, FTX is going to dump. I'm going to sell before FTX does. Ha! Me and the 30 million other people on Twitter have figured it out first. All right. We're going to be nice on a Monday. Gary Benchler, thank you. Jonas, member for 2 months. Hey, BCB. We miss members in the morning. Yeah, we got to get one in this month. We haven't gotten one in yet for September. We got it in August. We haven't gotten one in September. We'll get one in. Thank you, brother. Oscar, I'm on mute. Hit the like and don't forget to subscribe. Oscar Hernandez, my brother, thank you. And he gifted a BCB membership. Thank you, Oscar. DeFi Realty. I wanted your thoughts on XRP volume drying up steadily since the case ended in July. Thanks for all you do, brother. Well, we can look around. So depends on where we're looking, right? Let's go look. I'm sure volumes are down just because volumes are down across the board. And where are we looking? Let's go look here. Sorry, I'm trying to pull things up before we... Let me try to find historical. Charts. It's been a long time since I've been over here on Coin Market Cap. I know they used to have like a historical button. Chart. Let me zoom out. Maybe it'll put it back on the screen. All right, well, let's just look around. We'll just look around on here. XRP USD. So Binance's volumes are down across the board on every asset. So let's look. So this is their USD pairing, which isn't as strong as their Tether pairing. All right. You have, of course, insane volume happening here. Otherwise, is this volume too out of line with what it was prior? I don't think so. Looks pretty similar to me. You know, obviously we can't look at Coinbase's volume. Since then, right? So this, like, we have our cutoff here from back in January of 2021. I wish I could pull this up on Coin Market Cap. You know, if you look at Bitstamp, right? So if you're using Bitstamp, again, if this is what you're referring to, we've often suspected there is something that has gone on in here with all this. Maybe they've stopped it and this is now just all organic trading. But if this is the chart you're referring to, right? Like this is all Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Nothing Saturday and Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? And boom, the surge. But there's something, I'm going to guess it's Ripple over here on Bitstamp. But this chart just can't be trusted. And we've pointed to this all the time too. Why every Monday at exactly 10 a.m. UTC or whatever time it is, there's this big flush that happens in here over on Bitstamp. And it used to be, like, we'll keep going back. It used to be every Friday, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And it was always on Fridays. This big volume, and like 90% of the time, if you sold right before you hit that ticker, you know, right before 6 a.m. UTC, like every Friday, if you sold right before it, you would have netted positive for whatever the heck goes on over here. So I don't, if it's the volumes over here on Bitstamp. I don't trust these and whatever's gone on over here. But what it does look like is those volumes, whatever they were doing in here, has stopped. So I don't know. I'll take that because I always felt this was likely some type of negative price behavior that was happening in here. But either way, I don't know. If this, I don't see it on the other exchanges. If you're just looking at this one, I would just kind of say, oh, well, good, it's done on Bitstamp, because I don't think people really use Bitstamp very much. All right. Thank you, DeFi Realty. JJ Melch gifted 5 BCB memberships. Brother, JJ, thank you, man. David, shout out to regulars who are here every day. It's such a great group. Really appreciate what you do, BCB. Thank you from the UK. Cheers, brother. Bro, member of 3 months. David, thank you very much for the kind words. Tay Brown. What if that false top should actually be considered as the retrace? Remember some altcoins going nuts during that time, and we're actually setting up Bitcoin for a new all-time high. Would you hold through retrace? Right, so we've talked a lot about this. I'm not going to go too deep into it. I actually don't think this is retrace at all. I think this is just extended late stage bear stuff. And that's been the whole complication of figuring all this out, is to recognize we were already late into the bear market. You set a new all-time high, but we were already late into the bear market. All the excitement took place with laser eyes and diamond hands. And this little retrace right here is where you see like total 2, total 3, they all go shooting up higher, right? Right, so notice into the retrace, you get the extended new high in the altcoin market. That's a signal that only happens into like retraces, right? And so you look back to 2017, that's what we have happening in here, right? Bitcoin already tops into the retrace. It's the total 3 still continues to go in here. Yes, total 3 sets this new all-time high. But it's all late stage bear stuff. This is all late stage action that's actually happening in here. So I don't even think this is the retrace. I think the retrace was this thing right back here when Elon Musk was on Saturday Night Live now. Because now that we have all the data, we've seen all the monthly stuff, we go back and look at it in here. This thing floored out, right? This thing was dead down here. Notice how dead we are. Everything is dead by the time we get here. And this is not consistent with like a peak, right? A peak, we're still up here, right? We're already dead. We're already dead at the peak. So you're late stage into it. The door is still open, right? So the door is still open for those who are cheering for the all-time high. If you are a super cycle theorist, if you're a block reward halving theorist, if you're a Fourier cycle theorist, all that stuff, you're still alive. You're still in the game. I don't suspect it will forever because of the stock market. That I think eventually hey, maybe we'll get the 4.236 extension, but in the event of that, you're going to have to pretty much have already done all the price action before you end up getting there, if we even do get that for the Dow. But as of right now, your price behavior is that of one who is way deep into it already. And all the action you saw in here was the appropriate depths of falls. And you're right where you should be for a new cycle to begin. So your question is, what if that false top should actually be considered as the retrace? I actually think it was deeper into a bear when you were right there. I remember some altcoins going nuts during that time. You did have some, but the vast majority did not. And we're actually setting Bitcoin up for a new all-time high. Would you hold through the retrace? No. I'm not holding through the retrace. Anybody else, you could do whatever you want to do. I'm not going to. I've bought all down through here. So right, so like if we get up here, this is where all your 12Kers will go away. Every one of them, they will be gone. No more of them if we get there. I will have not wavered on 12K and will have already gone from here to here, 150%, whatever, 150 to getting up to 54, right? 150 to 200%, right? Meanwhile, they will have washing machined themselves 100 times over and over in here throughout the whole way up, and they've just slaughtered themselves throughout here on their little 12K stuff. I have no problem getting out of here and missing, missing all of this, whatever. I will have caught all of that, and then I'll reconsider everything up here. But in here, I'm going to let the market tell me what it's going to do next. I don't need to. But what's going to happen there, I'm just going to warn you, all the 12Kers will be raging bulls by that point. They will capitulate. So they'll be screaming, "I'm an idiot," then too. So it's nothing unusual. If you think I'm like anybody out there who watches who thinks I'm like not used to being called an idiot, it happens pretty much every time. It happened here, here. It always does. And meanwhile, the appropriate way to create content is to pander to the masses. Create bull content here, create bear content here, create bull content here, create bear content here. I've done the polar opposite. I've made bear, bull, but that's not, as a content creator, it's not the most appropriate way to grow your audience. You should be pandering. I don't pander to them. Hate me, whatever. I'm just going to tell it like it is. Probably hated here too. That's okay. I'll be hated here. But yeah, the retraces will scare the living daylights out of me. Especially, man. Especially we start getting into these areas right in here. And if the Dow gets up to like that 4.236 extension, how do you do it, right? How do you remain bull when the Dow is at its 4.236 extension, which is the same height as the Great Depression? It'll be tough, right? Do I still have it? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, you could start them at the same spot. Great financial crisis. Boom, nails it with precision. It's insane. So if we get that, if we go running up to that, and the Dow gets there at the same time as this is happening, I'm not going to hold. I'm just not going to hold through. I'm going to take 65% of my stuff off the table. Let the market tell me. If the market wants to make me look like an idiot through all here and just go right on through it, fine, so be it. Otherwise, they all made themselves look like dummies down here. This is a logical place to express worry and concern in the market, is right in here. Or if we set new lows. But the market is so confused. Unfortunately, it drives me crazy. That's why I was spicy last week, guys. Spicy as could be. Because we're off. But yeah, into the retraces, man, it'll be for sure a place for me to start cutting stuff to let the market tell me what's going to happen. If the Dow is going to go surging through a 4.236 extension and Bitcoin's going to go surging through all-time high, rock and roll, man, I have no problem changing my mind at that point. But I've been very consistent that from the peak that Bitcoin's in a bear market. How it would play out, like I mentioned at the very beginning, bear markets are incredibly difficult to navigate, but we have then exhibited all the signs of the bottoms being in. And we've been talking about it for almost a year and a half now, while this 12K FUD has been perpetuated the entire time since June of last year. We've seen all the signs of it. The discussion has always been go back into the retrace, but I promise you, if we do go back into the retrace, we will see it, because we will see the screams for all-time high. We'll scream the trash talking of BCB. He doesn't know nothing. We're going to all-time highs. What an idiot. Because we've seen it just right here in this range. That's what they were doing right here. Then they're screaming for 12K here. They're screaming BCB doesn't know garbage. We're going to 12K. BCB only thinks retrace. We're going to new all-time highs. Expect it. Everybody learn how to do your own stuff. You don't need to listen to anybody. You just need to educate yourself because you're the one who's pushing the buy button. You're the one who's pushing the sell button. It's your decision and you've got to live with it when you make the decision. Relying on some YouTuber to be like, hey, this is what happens because of this. And like, you don't know if they're doing their analysis correct or not. Like, you have to at least be able to cross-check it. And see if their idea makes any logical sense. Because I see tons of ideas that are presented out there that are garbage wrong. And some of them, I borderline think they're lying and they know it. Like, I almost feel that I see deception in some of the analysis, that I think they're blatantly, intentionally lying to their audiences. And that is concerning. I've thought about making content to prove it. But like I've always said, I've never by one time talk trash about other specific content creators, ever done it. Some of these garbage guys do, even big names. But some of their stuff needs to be called out. I think they're blatantly lying. And I don't think people recognize it. I could easily create content to prove it. To prove that either one, they're so ignorant that they don't know what they're doing, or they're blatantly lying. And we're talking giant accounts. So anyway, I don't know. That's what they're going to do. They're going to scream, 12K, meh, all-time high, meh. Let's get to retraces, and then let's all start. I will join the, hey, man, maybe we could go to new all-time lows once we get to retraces, right? Then we can, if we plow through those things, hey, man, let's party hard, bro. But we've got to get through that stuff first. So otherwise, oh no, I lost everything. There we go. Otherwise, yeah, you actually still are just, following along with what you should be doing for a recovery in here. So all is okay. LJ, BCB, Dow is below all-time high, Bitcoin below 702, but Congress selling. What do you do? Are you selling or waiting? Okay, so the Dow is below the all-time high, Bitcoin is below the 702, but Congress is selling. Congress selling gives me the confirmation that, the ideas are correct, that we're nearing the very top of the stock market, right? That's what it would be. But then it would just, are you really going to gamble everything that you've got it all figured out by saying, this is the time to sell because Congress is selling today? Or is Congress going to distribute over the course of like 90 days, right? Are they going to need time to let go of their portfolios? For me, it would be more of like, I mean, like we talk about it, like if you go take out the lows, that's the warning sign. I mean, look at it every time. Like every time you go set the new daily low, that's where things get super, super dicey, super, super fast. And so it's likely one of those things where we're just kind of waiting for the stock market to actually give a signal of, oh crap, panic. Right? I don't know if you can do that just by saying, hey, Congress is selling today, so it means I have to sell today too. Is Congress going to take 90 days to offload their bags and distribute their bags, right? Or are they going to be able to just market sell in one day? I doubt it, right? But I bet they'll do it. I bet it's coming, right? And it's like when I imagine it that they do it, that it's kind of like, because that's what the Fed did. I think the Fed gave them 60 days to distribute, and then everything fell apart. So, but yeah, that would be just an unbelievable warning sign, you guys. And that the super scary thing about that is just how we're all on board with it. Like it's such a beautiful trap because it's something we all believe in, that Congress should not be getting rich off of insider trading with information they have and telling all their buddies, and I'm sure they're telling hedge funds, they're telling JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, they've got their ins on who they, who's their pocketbook, and here you go, let me tell you what this stuff is going on. We all agree with that. Like, it's just garbage, right? And I don't know if them like does it even solve the problem that they shouldn't be inside trading, right? Like, all they have to do is get a paycheck from Goldman for $20 million a year, and all they do is they just give Goldman the info, which I'm sure they're already doing, but it like politically sounds good for them to dump their bags right now. The problem is where they're doing it at. Yeah. Let's not go too. Let's go too far down that one. All right. Thank you, LJ. Alberta's Cowboy. I've been away. I haven't missed a stream though. I welcomed my third child into the world at the end of August. Harvest season now. Ready to combine some crypto gains. Man, third child. I couldn't imagine it, man. You know, when you have your second child, you think you can do it just because you've already had one. You're like, you know what? I got this parenting thing down. Let's have a second one, because how much harder can it really be? How about losing all of your free time? Like every minute of the day is gone. How about that? That's how much harder it is. But 3. I'm good, bro. But congrats to you. Yeah, congrats. Ryan Fettis. Hey, BCB, are you selling alts at the Bitcoin retracement levels too? Likely. I'll be looking for signs, though. Like a very clear sign would be, like we just showed with Total 3, if you saw something like that happening. Where you see these types of things happening, like Bitcoin kind of stalls out and doesn't set a new high, but the altcoin market does like one more march higher. That's something I'll be screaming. Should we get it? Just in any way that Bitcoin doesn't continue higher, but the altcoin market does. That is the warning. And that's also something I've been talking with TXMC about a lot lately too. Like if you look over at the indexes over there in the stock market, you know, you got the S&P, you got the NASDAQ, you got the Dow, you got all of them getting through all their retracement levels, but you know, you got your smaller cap index, you know, you got your Russell. And the Russell is just really lagged behind. And I'm talking about that too, being like, you know, that's kind of like your altcoin market of the stock market. And whenever that Russell goes and catches up to all the major indexes, that's probably the time to start getting a little worried. So keeping an eye on the Dow, on getting to that 4.236 extension. And then as we approach that, is that finally when the Russell breaks out and goes for it as well? And if it does, that could actually be the warning sign to see kind of like that chasing further down the risk curve that, you know, everybody knows there's not really anything left in the bigger caps, and they do one final chasing in the, you know, the higher risk stuff, and that can mark the end. So kind of waiting for that moment, but be looking for a lot of different signs at the exact same time. But my thoughts are currently right now that's probably likely going to end up happening. Hit Toritsky, are you expecting alt season during the Bitcoin rise? Well, I mean, I hope so. You know, you can look at the Bitcoin dominances. We've gone through that. Bitcoin dominance has topped. Now the question is, and I still stand true to that, it stops. It's probably going up to about 51% again, but no new highs in the dominance. Of every single time it's peaked, it looks exactly like every peak it's ever done. But the question is, you know, is Bitcoin only doing a retrace? Hold on, I gotta get rid of this. Or is Bitcoin starting something bigger, right? If Bitcoin is only doing a retracement and then rolling over and crumbling with the United States stock market, yes, I do expect it to happen into the retrace, as the market will chase further out the risk curve versus Bitcoin. If Bitcoin is starting a whole new cycle, no, I wouldn't expect things to get nutty for the altcoins until Bitcoin would get to a new all-time high. So like we talked about, this will dictate what is the direction of Bitcoin. If you have an alt season happening here into the retracement, the market is being very loud and clear. If your altcoins are going crazy, if XRP is going to $5, $7, $10 in here, right? It is being very clear to tell you, Doomtown. If not, if the altcoin market won't rally really hard into there, it opens up the door that it's going to take getting to the new all-time high, right? We have very specific examples because there's only been like 3 or 4 different alt seasons throughout history, and they all happen at the same spots. They happen when Bitcoin breaks into a new all-time high, or they happen into retracements of Bitcoin where people are abandoning Bitcoin and chasing further out on the risk curve. So if we see it happening into the retracement, it would mean that they're abandoning Bitcoin, chasing further out on the risk curve, and that's going to be lights out pretty soon. If not, then it's waiting to get into the new all-time highs as occurred back in 2020 and as occurred back in 2017. So waiting for it. But we know the signs to look for. We're just waiting to see what happens as we get there. And as you can see, we're nowhere close to it. So, Steve S., new member. Welcome, brother. And then you got John Biddle as a new member. Welcome, brother. All right. There we go, guys. All right. So you got a green day over here in the crypto market. Your leader is Chainlink. You got Bitcoin at $27,253 this morning. 27 gets crossed. I wouldn't expect a straight line up. Maybe we'll get lucky and we'll do something like this, but that's not my expectations. I think any as we talk about, when you're in the middle of these, this is your, not my term, dumb money zone. In here, it can be all kinds of chop that happens in here in between these areas, especially in between, the 236 and in between the 786, trying to guess how you're going to play in here. Good luck. But definitely showing bullish strength shooting off of that floor. We'll take it. Stock market, a little bit mixed over there today. Let's see, the Dow is down 16 points, which is 0.05%, whereas the S&P is up 0.05%, but the NASDAQ is up 0.2%. So not too shabby. Coinbase is in the green. Leader today is Apple. Loser today is Tesla. All waiting for what comes on Wednesday when we have the Fed meeting. 99% probability that the rate hikes stop. Now looking to see what forward guidance is on that, because it now will be the second out of the last 3 meetings where the Fed did not do a interest rate hike. So, all right. We're going to keep this one short, guys, because I want to actually get you guys a video out today. It's actually not that short. We're at 57 minutes, so we'll take it. I don't know if I got through everything. Again, there was a newsletter released today. For those who subscribe to the newsletter, there it is. As for Twitter, you can follow me over here on Twitter at BCBacker or X.com. Like, are we supposed to say follow me over here on X at BCBacker? It just doesn't flow right, but all right. Keep fighting it. Keep fighting it. This is the only social media that I actively do use. I'm not on Instagram DMing you, telling you to send me your crypto. I'm not on Twitter or X telling you to send me your crypto. Be careful of impersonators out there. They're rampant. I don't have any control of impersonators out there on social media. There's nothing I can do. Here on the YouTube channel, every single comment that is commented on the videos and on the live streams is manually reviewed. As you guys know, the scammers are prevalent all over YouTube as well. But for over 2 years now, almost 2.5 years, going through every single comment. We're talking hundreds of thousands of comments have been weeded to confirm that they are not scammers. And out of those hundreds of thousands, literally half of them are scammers, and they have to be weeded, and they try to get tricky. And so here on YouTube, it's potentially in my control to be able to try to stop that. Out here on these social media platforms, there's nothing I can do. So just be careful out there. BC backer. Don't send your crypto to anybody, especially anybody pretending to be me. I'm not asking you to do it. Check out the newsletter. Check out bcbacker.com. Get some extra content from me. Over 40 videos, over 11 hours of content. And well, you guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap this thing up. Well, we got Mr. D here. If you draw fibs from the 2017 high to the 2018 lows, you get a 4.236 at 73,500. It even used to be 786 as support for the FTX collapse. Yeah, you do, right? So we've gone through all of this, though, Mr. D. You need look at the market cap. Due to inflation on Bitcoin, the market cap of Bitcoin still went all the way up. But you add 4 years of 6% inflation or whatever it was during that whole time, you'll see the perfect lineup happening in there. But member for 3 months, my brother. Thank you. All right, guys, here we go. We're at an hour right now. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you could, please like this live stream and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice, and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.